Now, the UN's top court is opening a week of hearings on the legal consequences of Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories. More than 50 countries are expected to give evidence at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. The hearings, requested by the UN General Assembly, are separate from the ongoing genocide case brought by South Africa. And there are currently 144 settlements in the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem, all illegal under international law. In addition, there are more than 100 Jewish outposts not sanctioned by the Israeli government.
A new Jewish neighborhood is taking shape in East Jerusalem. This building site is illegal under international law. The apartments being built here will become one of the many Israeli settlements in the Palestinian territories. East Jerusalem was annexed by Israel in 1967, but the international community considers it a part of the West Bank. Palestinians say the settlers are encroaching on the land they one day envisage as the capital of a Palestinian state. The West Bank is partly controlled by the Palestinian Authority, but Israel maintains full control of 2/3 of the territory. The two groups are separated by walls and checkpoints, limiting movement for Palestinians. Palestinian farmers have complained that this patchwork of zones create unfair access to resources like water. And Jewish settlers are accused of attacking crops, property and people. At the end of 2022, the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution asking the International Court of Justice to weigh in on the situation. The World Court is being asked to give an advisory opinion on the occupation and what consequences it has on the Palestinian people's right to self-determination. It's being asked to look at the occupation, annexation and settlement of Palestinian territory, including measures aimed at altering demographics and discriminatory legislation. The court will hear from representatives of over 50 countries.
Let's pick this up with DW correspondent Lucia Schulten, who's at The Hague at the moment. Morning, Lucia. What's expected to happen today?
Yeah, so the court has already started its session. It will start with a little introduction by the court, and then after this the Palestinian representatives will be given 3 hours. Among them is also top diplomat Riyad al-Maliki, who will start the Palestinian presentation today. And as I said, then they're given 3 hours. This is more time than all of the other states that will be heard from tomorrow on are given. The rest of the states will have 30 minutes. What is important to know that this is a very different case than the other big case that is happening here in The Hague, which is the genocide convention case where South Africa brought Israel to the International Court of Justice over an alleged breach of that said convention, the genocide convention.
OK. Now, the international community already regards Israel's settlement building in the occupied territories as illegal. So why does this need to be in court?
So this case has been brought here by the United Nations General Assembly. They have asked for a so-called advisory opinion back in 2022, so before the Israel-Hamas war. And it is important to note that the World Court here behind me does give this advisory opinions when they're asked to do so. As I've said, they've been asked in 2022. This advisory opinion is not legally binding. It is exactly what the name is. It is advisory. So the General Assembly wanted to know on a relatively broad range of topics. It wanted to get an assessment of the situation in the occupied Palestinian territories, as it has said, and it wants to get the details or the legal consequences on the settlement, occupation and annexation of the Palestinian territory, as the question has stated, and it wants to know which legal consequences come from this for the United Nations itself, but also for other states.
OK, so this concerns Israel's actions on the West Bank, but would this advisory opinion have any legal bearing on Israel's current actions in Gaza?
Well, it is relatively broad, the advisory opinion. So it's also especially on the question of East Jerusalem. It is not expected to have a direct effect on the situation that is happening right now in Gaza, because, as I said, it is not legally binding. Nevertheless, this is the World Court. It has weight, and it says so itself. So that means that whatever comes out with this advisory opinion, it could be that other states or the United Nations act upon this and draw their conclusions out of this. But it would also, as it comes as a time, it is also considered to give political pressure. The opinion is expected to come relatively quickly. In the past, it took around 6 months for an advisory opinion to be issued. So it is likely to assume that this will also be the case here.
OK, thank you. DW correspondent Lucia Schulten at The Hague.